This is the current situation in Atlanta. And Atlanta can't handle snow. So this is going to be fun. And this is our makeshift tripod. So y'all are going to have to deal with all the angles and the lighting. All the lighting. And yeah, that's what we're working with right now. This is the impromptu video, so get ready for it. Hey my future doctors, it is Lillian on Black Kids White Coats YouTube channel. I am here in Atlanta for a conference with Christina. You want to introduce yourself, Christina?
Hi, my name is Christina. I'm a second year medical student, just like Lillian.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about our pathway to medical school. And along with that, we're going to talk a little bit about the whole gap year thing, because I know a lot of people have been wondering about that. Share your story to medical school, please.
Okay, so I took 2 years after graduating undergrad to get into medical school, or decide to go to medical school. So it was a pretty tough path. It was rough. My pre-health advisor or pre-med advisor, whatever you guys call it at your school, was pretty much out to get me. It's very hard because it's like you come in and you think high school has prepared you to be the best student possible, and then you take your first chemistry exam and it's like you played yourself. This is what it's actually like, and this is what we actually demand of you. So I don't think that my high school, I came from an under-resourced high school in New York, and I don't think it really prepared me for the rigor of an institution like the one that I went to. So it was like really hard, but I remember trying to go to my pre-health advisor about like help and like how to study and how to approach like my pre-health classes, and she was just very, maybe you should explore something else, like a lot of students aren't struggling the way that you are, and maybe you should consider nursing, or you like this other thing, maybe you should do more of that. And it was just very discouraging, and it began to speak to me a little bit, because as I went through my classes, I really didn't go in with the attitude that I could handle it and with the motivation to like really push forward, because I felt like, maybe this isn't for me, because that's how, the person who is supposed to be guiding you through it is talking to you about it. So it was really tough. And I went through my first 2 years and I struggled a lot with my coursework. I was also a woman and gender studies major, in addition to pursuing like the pre-med track and like taking the basic sciences. So I was doing really well in those classes, and clearly like I could thrive in, an academically challenging environment, but I just felt like I didn't have the resources I needed to, do well in the sciences. And so, I had a really hard time those first 2 years, and I was like, you know what, at the end of my sophomore year, if I'm still getting these like grades in these science classes, I'm not going to continue to do this, because I'm killing my GPA. And if anybody knows, when your GPA tanks, there's no way to get it back. Like,
I mean, there are ways,
but it's a lot harder.
It's a lot harder.
Like, so I was like, I was just like, I have to make the most of these like 4 years in college. Like, my parents didn't struggle for me to get to this point to not do as well as I could. And so I remember this one time in my spring semester, right before a bio exam, I was asked to go back home for like a panel for the summer program for high school students interested in medicine that I went to back in the day. They asked me to come for a panel and just talk about my path to college. And I remember thinking I shouldn't go to the panel because I had to study and do all this other stuff. But I decided to go anyway. And when I went, at the end of the panel, one of the directors, pulled me aside and asked me, how pre-health track was going, and I told her it was a disaster. Like, I, was having a really hard time, and I was like really struggling with a lot of it. And she had introduced me to the summer program, and she told me to apply. The application had closed, but she was like, just send me your application, I'll put it in anyway. So I did, and I got into the program, and it was just one of the most eye-opening experiences ever. Like, being able to be exposed to physicians that look like me, other pre-med students that look like me, who are doing the same thing, who have the same story that I had, who were able to overcome a lot of those challenges, was really like enlightening and like really motivational for me. So like talking to doctors who had dropped out of college, or doctors who had a hard time getting to medical school, and hearing how they were able to overcome that and become positions was like really important to me, because I feel like a lot of the stories and the narratives you hear are the students who do really well and, you know, get 4.0s or do really, you know, great things in college. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, you know, some students can have that, but that doesn't represent every student in medical school. And a lot of students go through college thinking I'm not good enough, or I can't do this because, you know, I don't fit like this criteria, or I don't fit this profile. And for me, like, that didn't come until like my junior year. And so it was really great, because when I came back, it was crazy how much like your mindset can affect how you approach your studies and how well you do. And like going in motivated and knowing that people before me have struggled and have been where I was, made it out, was enough for me to be like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to reground myself, and I'm going to make sure that I can get through it. And so like I went through the last 2 years of college, did my best. I actually ended up doing a master's program, so it was like a dual program after. So I stayed after I graduated for an extra year, and then I stayed in the area to do research for a gap year. So it was like a real roller coaster ride. But it paid off in the end.
So you took like 2 gap years, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you did your master's, and then
so I did my master's in biotechnology, which is something that I had no idea that I would be interested in or would want to do. And it was cool because like I began to develop an interest in research, and during like some of my summers in undergrad, like I had did research in cancer, and it was just really cool to like be able to apply like the things I learned in the classroom to something, and to be able to tangibly, you know, and physically, you know, do experiments and things like that. Was cool. And I like that I can, you know, apply what I'm learning directly to something, because, you know, in medicine, even in medical school, we learn things theoretically, but you can't really apply anything until you graduate and you're actually in charge of taking care of patients.
Definitely agree with that.
So after I finished my master's, I went and I did research to kind of like just use everything that I've learned, which has been like really cool. So what did you do during your year off?
I went to Nigeria to do my youth service. I don't know if like for all my Nigerians watching out there, I'm sure some of you guys have heard about it. But the youth service program is essentially like the people who have graduated from undergrad in Nigeria are required to do it. And yeah, it just kind of, I had thought, like I was thinking about doing it from the beginning, and like, but like it just kind of like, it was a roller coaster as well. Like in the end, it was like August, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like it got to the point where I was like, there were points in time where I was like, am I gonna do this? Am I not gonna do this? And then it was like August. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this. And it started in like September, October. So I was in Nigeria like the next month or the month after that. But like it's a service program where you quote unquote serve your country. You could do like, you work for a company, you could do teaching. I was working in a hospital. So it was overall a good experience, and it was an interesting year in general. I feel like I learned a lot about myself. I grew a lot. Yeah, it was a lot of alone time as well, like because I wasn't on my own in Nigeria, but I was on my own because I have family in Nigeria and I stayed with people that I knew, but like it wasn't like my, you know, immediate family, like people I've stayed with for years. So that was also an interesting thing to do. I met a lot of people, like I still keep in contact with them, which is dope. And like even the youth service program in general, you meet a lot of people. So yeah, and I think that like also that gap year for me really motivated me once I got back to med school. There's first off the whole thing of being in Nigeria, and I was in like Lagos / Ogun State for majority of the time. So like there's this hustle, there's this drive with like the Nigerians have, and like I feel like I caught on to it, and like it's kind of like it's been going down over the like med school, but like I know I had it like my first year. I was like, I'm ready, let's do this, I'm the ish, I got this. And like that was a good way to start, honestly, because I really needed that, especially so for me, I was tired when I graduated.
I was tired too.
That was one, and then like also I just didn't even understand the full med school process, like applying. I didn't realize that I had to apply my junior year before, like, if I wanted to do it. It's a year-long application process, so you have to apply your junior year if you're not planning on taking a gap year.
Right.
So I didn't know that, and it was like the summer, and I was like, so am I applying to medical school? And it was one of those things. I don't know if you like had any issues with like the conversation with your parents, where it was like, okay, like for me, like I have Nigerian parents, but like it's like the whole immigrant thing, like trying to tell your parents that you're not going directly into medical school. It's like, I mean, that was their plan for me, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, that was a conversation to have. But it was one of those things where it's like, so I don't think I'm gonna apply, so this is just where we're at.
Right.
Sorry, mommy, daddy, love you. But that's basically what happened, because I didn't feel like I was prepared, and I was also like tired. Like it was so, like, the pre-med route was draining.
It is.
And it can be motivating for some people, it can be like draining for others. So like everyone is different. But like for me, it was draining, and like I remember just being happy to like, okay, like I have a year to like refresh and do something. And like, yeah, so like what you were talking about, like applying what you kind of learned, I think is really important. Even like in med school right now, like all the stuff we're learning right now, like just being able to apply it to like patient cases. Like when you see patients come in with these actual symptoms and you're like, whoa, like this stuff actually happens. Yeah. Like this is not like just reading a book. Like that's really important to just kind of keep you going. So that was my experience for my gap year. And it was
yeah.
And
I think a lot of, you know, deciding to take a gap year has a lot to do with, you know, your own image and like what you pictured it would be. I've always pictured that I would go straight into high school, from high school straight into college, from college straight into medical school. I'll be a 30-year-old doctor.
Right.
I have my money. I'd be done. Okay. If I could do it earlier, I would have.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's really hard for you to like, you know, come to terms with that and convince yourself that, you know, like even though like I'm not doing it in the fashion or in the time that I wanted to, I'm still going to get it done.
Right.
I know that there's like this, you know, theory looming that like, oh, if you don't go straight through, you're never gonna go back. That is not how I felt.
That's what I was told.
That's not how I felt.
Like I said, I felt like so like motivated to go into it like after it, because I was like, first off, let me be real, like after oh gosh, I don't know if I should say this, but like actually after my summer, after I found a job, and so like, and the job just wasn't it. Like it wasn't it. I'm just gonna say that it wasn't it. I was, yes. Okay. That's what I have to say about it. And I was like, yo, this is not where I wanted to be yet. So like, just like that whole learning process where it's like, okay, so it probably is my, like I would like while I was there, I was imagining myself like, there's got to be more than this. Like I want to be moving around. I want to like just like I pictured myself being a doctor. So like that whole gap year was just so motivating for me. And for some people it might not be. And I feel like that is the best time to figure it out. You don't want to be in medical school and like then figure out I don't think this is for me, because then you're already like
you've invested. You've listen.
Yeah, like,
and like to get through medical school, it's more than being smart, it's a mental game. Like you need to convince yourself every day that you want to be there. And it's hard to do that when you in the back of your mind have this idea and know in your heart true down inside that you don't want to be there. It's hard to convince yourself of that. So
I agree. It's like constantly telling yourself that you belong here, like especially being a person of color. Like you're gonna be, I've said this before, but like people are gonna make you feel like you don't belong. So like you need to like constantly tell yourself. And I feel like if you need the time to like find purpose and like figure out what you're doing, I would say take it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's also a matter of maturity too. Like people go straight in, and I probably will talk to some people who have gone straight in and talk to them about their experiences soon. But like for us who took gap years, like I have no regrets at all about taking a gap year personally. So and
I think that it allows me to, you know, assess what's important in life. Like for instance, like, you know, some people who like have went straight in, from my experience, I can see that, you know, they are, you know, frivolous, like they they will stay up from like 6 a.m. to like 6 a.m. the next day because they, you know, they're in this like routine of this is how it worked in college, so this is how it's worked for me in medical school. Like, I feel like being a person allowed me to understand that there are more important things in life, and that if I have to like push off studying for mental health reasons or push off studying because something else comes before that, it's okay.
It
like,
is okay.
It's fine. I will get it done. It might not be the most enjoyable thing to get through because I didn't give it those extra hours that I had to give to something else, but it's okay. Like, I'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll take care of myself and do what I need to do, and I'll take care of it, you know, in a timely fashion. So yeah, taking a gap year can either show you that medicine is not for you, which can also be scary if you imagine that you were going to be a doctor and this is all the things that you've wanted in your life, and to tell yourself, you know, this is not actually it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an honest move, and it's, you know, if it's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. But
That's true.
being like doing research for a year definitely motivated me because like I had so many questions while I was a researcher and so many things that I couldn't do that I was just like, you know, if I was a doctor, I'd be able to do this. So it kind of like pushed me to be like, okay, like this is great where I am, but like I see something else in myself and I want to do more. And in order for me to do more, I need to like step out of this. So it definitely motivated me to like continue on with pursuing to go to medical school.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so far we've shared our experiences with, you know, taking a gap year, and like we've kind of said, it really is up to you. Some people go straight through, some people take a gap year and it's for many reasons, like many reasons. So just find what works for you. I know it's kind of an annoying response, but it really is like personalized. Like our experiences are not your experiences. We've gone through different things that you have. Like, yes, it's different. So yes. Christina, do you have anything you want to share before we head out?
Yeah, so I would say a couple of things. Like, one, talk to the people who know you the most. Like, it's easy to go to a pre-health advisor and be like, oh, what do you think is best for me? What should I do? But, you know, those people, those friends, if you're close to your parents, you know, who hear you, you know, speak on a day-to-day about what interests you and what you like, they can, or how you're feeling. Like, I know for me, like, I was really tired after undergrad. Like, I used to get on my phone every day, like, look, like, I'm tired, like, I need a break. And I remember my friend saying, like, if you need a break, like, take time and, like, get a job, like, work and things like that. So it kind of was, like, me listening to, like, what I was projecting out to people. And it kind of helped me realize, like, what was the best decision for me. And also in terms of, like, what to do during a gap year, there are possibilities are endless. Like, I did something, you know, like research, and she went to Nigeria, so it's like huge in terms of
something you enjoy.
Do something you enjoy, and definitely like use your network. Like, I know for me, like, my job was something that, like, I kind of created for myself. It was like I, you know, had this connection with, like, my PI. A PI is a principal investigator who, like, manages, like, a lab. Like, I worked in his lab, like, as an undergrad, and I was interested in, like, doing research with him during my master's year, and he was kind of like, you know, why not make it a full-time thing, make it a job, come work for me and kind of stuff. So, like, we found money, and, like, that was my income, and that worked. Like, I had friends who, like, you know, knew people, like, at different institutions, and they, like, created jobs for them. So I'm not saying, like, go out and create a job, but I'm saying, like, you know, use your network and see what, you know, people are saying or what people are thinking, because, you know, so many people in high places, like, you know, they have ideas of things that they want to do, but no one to execute it, and that person could be you. So definitely, like, speak around to people and say, like, you know, I'm interested in medicine, you know, here are some things that I like, what can I do with it, or who can I talk to, or who can you put me in contact with, and you'd be surprised at what comes out. Like, it doesn't have to be as, you know, basic as working, you know, a 9 to 5 at this place. It could be anything. So definitely do open your mind to, like, what that gap year will look like.
It doesn't have to be related to medicine, but, like, if you are applying to medical school, you should be able to talk about what you did during your gap year. So that's just what I wanted, like, to end that with. So be wise. Like, you can chill. Like, I was hanging out. I was kicking it in Nigeria, but I was also working, and, like, I was able to talk about the experiences I had and how that has, like, changed my perspective and things. So that's what we wanted to share about the gap year. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and if you guys want to talk about certain topics again. Thank you so much, Christina, for talking. Like, we're literally, like, in Atlanta Like, this is crazy. Yeah. Like, we were like, let's do this. So yes, thank you so much, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye.